I dream for all of us to own wardrobes with garments made from sustainable sources, including fair wages for the makers. I aim to motivate and inspire viewers to see the clothes they wear as an expression of their personality and their beliefs. This is the Slow Wardrobe. Come and have a look. Welcome to another episode of the Slow Wardrobe podcast. My name is Linda and I'm your presenter. Today we're going to talk about the Layercake Dress, which is what I'm wearing. I would like to walk you through the different dresses that we have and then how you can wear and style them, both in combination with your existing wardrobe as well as other Layercake items. So join me and let me know what you think as usual. We do the Layercake dresses in two lengths. The shorter length is comparable to the longest points of our Layercake smocks. I will show you that by layering them up later on so you can see the difference in length between them. And then we do a long length, which is what I'm wearing. The long length is 6 inches longer, and that is to ensure that on somebody my height it comes down to near my ankles as well. And if I'm 5'10", if you're 5 foot to 5'2", then the short length dress comes down to almost your ankles, just like this one does on me. And then there's the range in between. So there are some heights who can wear both lengths of dresses, have the choice to either go long, which is almost full length, or wear the shorter dress. And that of course then gives you more ability to layer with other garments. But this is the long one, and this is the kind of silhouette that we're after. To explain a little bit about the differences and the similarities between the dresses and the other garments in the range, I will now show you a still of a dress with a smock on top, so you can see the differences. Here I am showing a smock over the top of a long dress. So these are both size zeros, a zero dress long and a regular smock. So the similarities between the two are that they both have the big pockets that we like in all our Layercakes, and they both have that kind of curvy, almost faint balloon shape that the smock has. The dress has that as well. The differences between the smock and the dress are that the armholes are not as deep on the dress. If I lift that here, you can see the armhole of the smock is pretty much 2 inches lower than the armhole of the dress. We've done that so that it's easier for more people to wear the dress in summer without a top underneath. So that armhole is one difference. Then of course there is the longer silhouette of the dress. I mean, even if you would imagine this dress 6 inches shorter, it would still be longer obviously than the smock. And the third is the hemline. It's a new hemline. I'm specifically not calling it straight because it isn't completely straight. The hemline is actually slightly curved still because of the shape of the dress. I'll show you a dress laid out on the floor with a smock on top of it so you can see the difference between the two. And now you can see that because of the seaming of the dress and the darts that we have sewn into the dress, that the hemline isn't completely straight. It still has a slight curve to it, which of course also accentuates that slight balloon shape, that curvy shape that it has. So in summary, the similarities are the curvy shape and the big pockets, and of course the same lovely linen that we make them in, and the differences are the different depth of the armhole, which is not quite as big as the smock and tabard, are the fact that it's a longer, leaner silhouette and the different hemline. So after introducing the dress to you and talking about the different lengths, introducing the silhouette and everything, you can see it here on me, just worn with a long sleeve top and some leggings underneath and some wintry shoes. Of course, in the summer I could leave the top and the leggings away and just wear some sandals or more summery shoes. And in the in-between seasons, of course, you can layer to your heart's content. But the most simple way in the winter is to just wear long sleeve top underneath, not too heavy, more fitted so that the silhouette of the dress remains unchanged and pure as it is meant to be, and then with simple tights or leggings like this. And then you can start styling it with just a simple necklace like this, or with a little scarf or shawl, for example, like I've done here, picking one of the colors from the scarf, which is that dark teal color, and bringing that back in with the dress. So as said, this is the dark teal dress that at the moment isn't quite out yet. We've literally just started producing them. So we're introducing them in the course of February, towards the end of February. Its big introduction is at Unravel in Farnham, but I'll make sure to give my newsletter subscribers a preview. The main advantage with the newsletter is if there are any special offers or new garments or new colors, for example, they will always get offered to the newsletter subscribers first, and in some cases only to the newsletter subscribers. So it pays to be a newsletter subscriber. I tend to send out about one a month. It's still only me, so I can't do more often than that. So it's not like your inbox is going to get flooded. It's mainly just to send alerts out saying, here is your first refusal with a new color or a special price, a special introduction, before it's offered to the rest of the world via Instagram and the website. So get it here first with the newsletter. So the newsletter subscribers are going to hear from me in February about the introduction of the dark teal as a dress or as a blaze suit. But back to the dress and how to wear and style it. So this is the long dress, just with leggings and a long sleeve top. I will now show on my body, again size 1, a shorter dress in the same size, to show you what happens to the silhouette and how it changes when it becomes shorter. And here it is, the size 1 regular length of the dress. As you can see on me, it's about 4 inches, goes to about 4 inches below my knee. It's got that same curvy balloony shape, just in a shorter version. And again, just styled very simply with the long sleeve top and the leggings. And I will now show you what happens if you add a smock or a tabard over the top of that, just to show you the relative proportions of the regular length of the dress in combination with a smock or a tabard. I'll do both shapes in the same color. This is the brick colorway, and as you can see, the front point of the tabard is almost level with the bottom of the dress, and the reverse goes for the smock. The side points of the smock, the bottom of the side points of the smock, are pretty much the length of the bottom hem of the dress. Talking about the regular length here, not the long length. So as you can see at the side, the dress is peeping through, and of course you can see a little bit underarm as well because of that underarm being slightly higher on the dress. You can see it popping out there as well. And apart from that, you get a lovely apron effect of the tabard that's accentuated by that same rounded shape of the dress peeping out at the bottom. I'll show you what happens when you team this with a smock. And here it is. A smock over the top of the regular length dress. As I said, side points, the bottom of the side point of the smock is the same length as the bottom hem of the dress. And now you see the dress obviously peeping out in the middle rather than the sides. Same silhouette again, and they fit beautifully on top of each other. Again, that slight difference in the depth of the armhole between the smock and the dress. It's the same as with the tabard and the dress. Here's the dress with a tail smock. May remind you a little bit of the play suit, because of course there's a lot of similarities between the dress and the play suit. The dress having that same silhouette but not having the zip at the bottom to create the trouser effect. Tail smock actually being slightly longer than the dress in the back, which I think looks great. And as you may already be aware, we cut the tail smocks, so and we do that with the mini tabard as well. We cut the neckline and the armholes such that you can see the layer cake that you're wearing underneath. The tail smock, of course, being a prime example of a garment that is ideal for layering over other pieces of layer cake. So then we think it's nice if the bits of it peep out at the top, and that's why that neckline is different. And the shoulders are slightly narrower of the tail smock than they are on other garments like the dress and the tabard and the smock. Nice bright color in the violet. Of course you could go for a much calmer color, like the black gingham would look great with the pinstripe, or a black or a charcoal. Anything goes really. As usual, you can either mix it up and spice it up with more colors or tone it down and keep it all very neutral. So far I've been showing layer cakes to wear on top of the dress, but you can go the other way and wear other layer cakes underneath, both with the regular length dress as well as the longer one. I'll start with the longer one and then show you the difference between the effect of having the longer dress over a layer cake bottom or the shorter dress. So as I said, back into the longer dress, the small check this time, just to show you the difference with the plain grey I was wearing before. And now to show you what happens when you go for this long length dress, which in your case may be the look that you end up with wearing the regular length dress if you are not as tall as I am. Then you can still layer under other layer cakes underneath the dress as well. I'll show you. These are the high-low trousers, the full length ones. The longer ones, but worn full length. so not cropped and pulled up in any way. This is how they look underneath the dress, and then when you lower the dress, this is the effect you get. So it almost looks like wearing a long skirt underneath because of the generous leg width of the high-low trousers. In this case the red ones, and of course it picks up on the reds in the dress. So it's a lovely combination. It's a wonderful extra layer with the cold weather that we've got at the moment, still being in winter. Wearing 2 layers of linen over the top of each other is fantastic, because of course you trap a layer of air in between. You don't have to go for wool to create warmth. Just by having more layers of fabric, with every layer of fabric that you add a layer of air in between, which works as an insulating layer and makes you warmer. So here, a nice coloured high-low trouser, and of course you can create exactly the same look with the overalls. By wearing the overalls underneath the dress, you hide the whole top part of them. You won't see anything except for the pieces of the long legs peeping out underneath. And even though those legs are ever so slightly less wide than the high-lows, the overall effect is very similar to this. I will swap the longer dress now for the shorter dress so that you can see the difference in terms of how much extra leg you get to see when wearing the longer dress with a bottom piece like this underneath. So here's the shorter dress over the high-lows. Big difference, of course, you see a lot more red. And if you like this silhouette but you don't like the contrast, then of course instead of going for the red trousers, you could go for charcoal or for black, or even for gingham. From a little bit of a distance, the gingham and the pinstripe look fairly similar, even though close up there's a clear difference between them. I'll show you. And here it is. The pinstripe shorter length of the dress with a pair of gingham high-lows. Less contrast, but the same silhouette, and you can see how the silhouette becomes very long and lean, just like what we have with the play suits. You're kind of replicating the effect of the play suit here by wearing these underneath the dress. You would get a look that is even more like the play suit if you would wear a pair of baggies underneath the dress, which of course works just as well. Why don't I show you that? I'm increasing the contrast again by showing the shorter length dress with a pair of baggies in the small check. Trying to show off how versatile the small check baggies are. They're not too loud, but they create a nice contrast, and of course they go with pretty much all the colours in the Layercake collection. Let me show you what happens when you wear a pair of baggies like this and cover more of them with the longer dress. Here is the long dress over the top of a pair of baggies. You can see that the bottom hem of the dress reaches about the point where the bottom pocket of the baggies starts, so that gives you an idea of how much of the baggies you see. It's about the bottom 8 inches or so that peep out, and the rest of the silhouette stays exactly the same. It's just that extra layer of baggies that you add at the bottom. And you could do a similar thing with the skirt, for example. In both lengths of dresses, the skirt is also perfect for wearing underneath and elongating the silhouette to a full length one. losing any legs completely at the bottom and creating a full-length silhouette. There are a couple of more things that I would like to show you about how to style the different bits of layer cake with the dress, and then I will take you on to combining the layer cake dress with pieces of your wardrobe and silhouettes that you may already have in your wardrobe, what does and what doesn't work, or to turn it around, how can you make it work. Here is the large check wool dress in the longer length, still worn with the small check linen baggies underneath. These are two fabrics that I would not put together worn on top. For example, I wouldn't put the small check linen tail smock over the top of this dress. But at the bottom, where you only have a small section to complete that long silhouette, I think it looks great. They look as if they're part of the same garment, but you know, of course, that they're not. And boy, is it lovely and warm to have the wool over the top of that linen layer. Now, if you think, yeah, not for me, I would like to calm that down a little bit. Let me show you how the dress looks with a skirt underneath, even if it's a long dress like this. Here we are. Of course, you can replace pretty much any layer cake piece that I wear underneath the dress with a non-layer cake piece of your own. If you have a nice long flowy skirt that is not layer cake, then of course it's perfect to wear underneath the dress, or a different type of trousers, and they don't have to be as wide and as voluminous as the high-lows or the baggies. They can be much tighter trousers. As long as you play nicely with the colors, they'll look great and they'll still achieve that lovely silhouette. So here, a long skirt over a long dress. In terms of proportions, you could generate, if you're not my kind of height, if you're more, if you're closer to an average height, then you could go for the shorter skirt. This is the long skirt, and of course we have the skirt in the regular length as well, and go for the dress in the regular length. Then you'll create exactly the same silhouette, but looking just as good on a shorter frame. In that respect, we really protect the proportions of our garments and replicate them such that they look similar and just as curvaceous and nice on different heights of frames as well as different sizes. There are so many people still who will come to the stand and say, "Oh, Linda, this looks nice on you because you're tall." It's not the case. Let me promise you, well, if you've seen both of us on the stand, you will know that Andrea is at the other side of the spectrum at 5'2", and she wears full-length layer cake all the time. She can wear exactly the same combinations of layer cake that I wear, and they look just as good on her as they do on me. And considering that there's an 8-inch height difference between us, that is saying something. So do not assume that the garments won't look as good on you if you have different proportions than what you see me wear or what you see Andrea wear. We make them such that they look good on lots of different sizes, both in width as well as height. Whenever you're not sure, do check the description of the products on the website. I normally have a grid on every listing that shows you the garment measurements as well as the recommended body measurements to go with that. if you don't see it straight away, it's just because you'll have to scroll down past the product description. It is on every page. That goes for the trousers, it goes for the play suits, the dresses, the smocks, the tabards. It'll give you the crucial information, the crucial measurements that you need to have in order to check which layer cake size you are, because we do not follow standard UK dress sizes. Our biggest size is not a UK 16. Our second smallest size is a UK 16. Our biggest size is more like a UK 26. So do be aware of that and check the descriptions of the product and the measurements of the product before you order. So many larger ladies have the tendency to just order the biggest size and think that that will hide all. In most cases, it'll be too big on you. So do check. Just before moving on to showing you some knits on top of a dress and some non-layer cake items that I've pulled from my own wardrobe, I wanted to show you a rather underrated garment in the layer cake lineup. It does not get a lot of attention, which is a shame, and that is the apron. So I've thrown it on over the top of the dress, which is sitting over the top of the skirt. So it's getting into a very warm setup now, because of course the dress I've got in between is the wool dress, which behaves and moves very differently from the other linen equivalent. And you can really notice that when you then put a linen garment like that is more fitted here, like the apron, over the top. But they play together very nicely, and you can see, oh, I had that folded. You can see how the apron comes down in the back with the dress peeping out like that. And of course the apron is a lot shorter as well than the dress. I'll remove the skirt in a minute so you can see the relative proportions. But as per usual with the other layer cake items, they work great over the top of each other. Skirt removed, long dress with apron. I'll go one step further and now show you the shorter dress with the apron, so you can see the length difference between those two. And here it is, the pinstripe dress in the regular length with the apron in the gingham over the top. Not a lot of contrast, but just enough difference in texture and visual interest to make this an exciting outfit to wear. You can see that the dress just peeps out those last 2 inches underneath the apron, and of course it's very clearly visible at the side where the splits are, and in the back where the dress sits clearly above the straps of the apron coming down. Of course you could make this more contrastful by wearing either a brighter colour dress underneath or a brighter colour apron on top, all depending on what you prefer. So, enough layer cake layering. Let's get some knits in and see how they play with the dress. I thought I'd build it up gradually. if step one is just a simple necklace or a statement necklace with a nice big pendant, for example, then step two could be a knit that almost looks like more of a piece of jewelry in its own right. This is the single dart. It is part of a pattern that comes with two versions. This is the single dart. The pattern is called double dart. This is called the single dart, and then we've got a multi-dart. I'll show that one now. This is kind of in between a necklace and a scarf, and then the next one is a little bit more substantial, but still looks almost more like a piece of jewelry than a proper knit. And as a styling statement, I think this is really strong, really striking, and it would allow you to wear a color that is maybe bright or not your usual color with an overall outfit that is well into your comfort zone. So it allows you to play with colors that you may normally not wear or not normally wear as a big surface, and add them like this as a small accent. So here's the dart with the multiple points, and rather than putting that on very neatly behind the scenes and then running out with it looking all perfect, I'll show you how I put this on normally to make it look with the different points sticking out in different directions. As you may be aware, with this multiple dart, every next dart goes in the opposite direction of the previous one. So find the dart that's in the middle. I think it's this one. Yeah, my points are both the same, so that's my middle dart. Drop the other two so they all look like they're sticking in the same direction, so they can all hang down, even though you've actually twisted the fabric. So I drape those like this, and then drop the rest onto your back. So those are the first three. See that? The rest is just sitting on my back. Then I grab both halves and cross them over, pull them around to the front. Don't worry if your darts get messy, we'll sort those out. Pulling this down a little bit, so my first three darts are in order, one in the front and two on my shoulders, and then this gets messy over the top. Purely by feeling, not even looking, but purely by feeling, I can feel that the next 2 points are kind of diagonally in the back here, and I can just drop those down. So they're sitting just behind the darts that are coming from the front, that are sitting on my shoulders here, and then the next ones go just behind my shoulders, like that. I've got the rest coming back to the front here, and I drape those next to like a lapel, so just allow them to fold over. Do the same with the next two, and then I can tie this. So I've got 2 here, 2 there, 2 just behind my shoulders, and then coming back to the front to the middle with these 2 on my shoulders and this here. You don't have to do it exactly like that, but this is a way to do it symmetrically and show off all the different bits of the pattern in a really nice way. All your points are sticking out. You can also just go around a couple of times, tie it up, and allow them to fall the way they do. Look, you saw that I didn't style them at all. I just wound it around my neck and they automatically fall in different places. See that? That's what the placement of the darts safeguards, that they all sit in those different positions like a collar. So coming from there, stepping it up a little bit more, not going full blown shawl yet. Both of the darts as well as the Nadine cowl is knitted in our glorious Yak Blend 2, which is a blend of pure yak and silk. And again, very simple statement, finishing the whole look. This particular one, of course, looks rather nice with my pale colored hair. So you don't always have to match something like this with your outfit. You could match it with your lipstick, or match it with some jewelry, or match it with your hair or a hairband, match it with your shoes, for example. So you can play with different colors in different parts of your clothes and body and dress, rather than just go for the main ones going together. The Nadine cowl and the multiple darts are also available as knitting kits in the shop. The darts come with a pattern because it's my design. The Nadine cowl is by Isabel Kramer, so you end up buying the pattern from her and then buying the kit with the yarn in it from me. A nice next step would be to go for a shawl that's slightly bigger, that you can then either wind around your neck and wear a little bit like a cowl, or have it looser and covering a little bit more of the top of the dress to make a bit more of a color statement and impact. Point in the back, not in the front, or go around and just tie it the way you've seen me do so often with so many scarves and shawls. That's how this one is tied as well, just tied around the neck twice to make a color statement closer to your face but not covering as much of the dress. Ignore this, it's just given the details of the pattern as we display it at our stands at different shows. Now this is linen. And the next one is wool. Not just any wool. This is a big brioche shawl. It's a Stephen West design that is knitted in my Alpaca Boo Soliloquy and Cumulus, Fiber Space Cumulus. Both yarns have a 600 meters per 100 grams running length, and you get that two-tone effect of one side of the shawl having the darker color as its dominant color, and the other side has the lighter color as its dominant color. As so many of Stephen's patterns, it is a glorious shawl, unbelievably light and fuzzy in this yarn, and lovely to wear. Now, because this is Soliloquy and Cumulus, these are yarns that run 600 meters per 100 grams. The originals were, for this shawl, were 4-plies. So the needle size that this was knitted on is slightly smaller, 1 or 2 sizes smaller than the original, and the yarn is finer. And you can see how big it still is. And that is one of the, for some people, issues with a lot of Stephen's designs. They are very large shawls, and using slightly smaller needles and a slightly finer yarn shrinks the whole project down to what a lot of people regard as a slightly more manageable size. However, this was not about the shawl, this was about the dress. You saw how nice, again, this looks as a silhouette. We can go up another step though. This is another Isabel Kramer design. It was again knitted in, or in this case it was a combination of Soliloquy and the Yak Blend 2, held together throughout. 2 different colors of Yak Blend 2 and one color of Soliloquy. I have kits for this available as well. And now we're really talking proper wrap. You can see how big this is. It's almost like a poncho and can be worn either covering a lot more of the dress, which really significantly changes and dresses up the dress. A shawl that you have over your shoulders and arms always makes any outfit look more dressy. But of course it changes the silhouette. It closes up that silhouette that you would see without it. You can see the difference. And you can then play with this tied around you in different ways to bring part of that silhouette back without losing the warmth that you add with the big shawl. Next step would be to add a knitted garment. I'll grab one. I've got one I made earlier. Another Isabel Kramer, bit of a theme. I didn't intend it to be that way, but that's how it's worked out. And look how completely different this silhouette is. By adding a voluminous top over the top of what is otherwise a more fitted bodice, you get much more of a layered look altogether. The layers are broken up by the wide stripe across that is part of this particular Isabel Kramer design, which I like so much because it works so well. And as you can see, in terms of length, it finishes just high enough for me to be able to put my hands in my pockets, and with the slightly longer back, it works extremely well over a Layercake garment. Now, the original of this pattern is a cardigan, and of course you can wear the cardigan closed and get this exact look, or like I did in this case, I just knitted this all the way through, and rather than splitting up the front and knitting a cardigan, I just knitted it closed. So I followed the pattern up to this point, and then instead of splitting it, I just left it together and have turned it into a V-neck jumper, a wide V-neck jumper, and it follows the line of the top of the dress beautifully. I will grab one of my other gramps, which is still a cardigan, and show you the way that looks. Here it is. I knitted this one in a bigger size, one size bigger than the jumper, and you can tell with the sleeves being longer and a bit more generous, it's slightly longer. I think I knitted it slightly longer than the pattern calls for. So the edges fall just over the top of my pockets here, but because of the split at the side, you can still get to the pockets very easily. So even with that slightly longer silhouette, you're not losing access to your pockets. And the reason that I wanted to show you this one is that it's in a lighter color altogether. So even though it's got the darker stripe at the bottom, the dark stripe is almost tonally the same as the dress. So you get a different color effect again from the previous one. That goes for the knits that you have at home as well. Whenever you try any of your either shop bought or own made knits together with any layer cake, always pay attention to the silhouette. Make sure that you like what happens in terms of drape. And the reason I believe this works so well is because the Gramps Revive has a much larger circumference than even the dress does at its widest point. So you still have a step change in terms of circumference. It just goes the other way. So rather than the top being smaller than the bottom, it's the other way around. And that creates a step change in the silhouette which creates interest and stops you from looking like a solid block. One way with that previous outfit that I just showed you with the Gramps Revive that I could elongate the silhouette that I showed was to either go back to a longer dress, because this is of course the shorter dress, and by wearing the longer dress I would elongate the silhouette even with the Gramps Revive on top, or by wearing one of the other garments underneath. So if opting for the longer dress is not a possibility for you, then adding either a pair of baggies or a longer skirt or one of the trousers underneath, you can create that elongated silhouette, which would break up the fact that you're wearing a voluminous top above that enormously. So keep that in mind. If you do put on one of your own knits in combination with a dress and you think I look too much of a block, like I said, then add something underneath the dress to elongate your silhouette further and see how that impacts the look. The next garment to show you is a haori. It's not a kimono, it's not full length. It's a haori type jacket that I bought at Woolfest. I will check the name of the vendor and put it here. The reason that I want to show it to you is because it's a longer length jacket and therefore creates a very different silhouette in combination with the dress. As you can see, it goes down to about 8 to 10 inches above the bottom of the dress. Creates a really nice long line, and I purposefully am showing this with the shorter length dress rather than the longer length dress, because I don't want you to think like, well, yeah, sure, with your longer length, you're more of a height and the longer dress, I could make that look good, but I'm stuck with the shorter dress. I am not as tall, so it won't look good. Well, it does. I mean, I can create the effect by hacking off my own legs here and showing that dress and that jacket worn together. It looks great. It's a nice silhouette, and if you have something like that at home, then again you can greatly change the effect of what it looks like by tying it together. By tying it at the waist, over the top of the dress, it'll look lovely. And a very, very different silhouette from having it untied and hanging loose. Of course, I haven't got that much of a waist, but a lot of my Layercake ladies do, and they love showing off their waist. I would do that as well if I had more of it. So having a tied top like this is a great option, and at the moment we're knitting some more samples of knitted garments that do exactly that and that nip you in just below the bust or at waist level, so that when you're wearing a dress or a play suit, for example, you can nip it in and show off your waist to great effect. The next step would be to go even further in length. Again, this is actually a store-bought cardigan that I had in my wardrobe and that I figured would be just about the same length as the dress. In fact, the dress sticks out marginally and it creates a really nice overall look. Big cardigan that of course you can wear almost like a jacket, open like this and swagger with it as if it were more of a duster, or wear it closed and go outside with it like this. You can then add your knits around your neck if it's chilly, but it shows you how easily dressed up the dress can be. Very versatile. One left to show you, and that is a fine knit against shop bought that's very, very oversized and even longer than the dress itself. Not by much, but a little. And showing what it does to create more contrast. The other one was very dark. This one is much lighter. Again, could be worn open or closed. Would look great with something like the Gingham Wingham, for example, bringing those light colours back. Or worn without. Just as an inside outfit, choosing the colours of the Gingham Wingham to complement the dress, keeping it all very tonal, very muted, but adding great interest just with a simple scarf like this. If you knit something like this in your favourite colours, then by choosing two colours that come back in different parts of your wardrobe, you end up creating an accessory that pulls together whole swathes of your wardrobe. So for example, if I had the red high-lows that I was wearing before, and I have a blue tabard, but I normally don't wear the red high-lows with the blue tabard, then by knitting a Gingham Wingham that has a blue and red check, you create an outfit that is absolutely stunning using two colours that you normally wouldn't wear together, even though those two colours may be favourites of yours. And that is what the small check does in spades, really, with its approach to colour. It's got lots of different colours in the fabric that are normally not really seen together or not really worn together. And by weaving them in an interesting way, you end up with a fabric that is so versatile that you can wear it almost as a neutral. So you can replicate that in a small way by just grabbing two colours that you normally wouldn't wear together, that you both love, and knitting them together into an accessory that will pull together parts of your wardrobe that you normally would not have sought to combine. I hope you've enjoyed this. How to wear the Layercake dress, both with different pieces of layer cake layered underneath or on top, or with layer cake knits, tall yarns knits that you may have at home by other designers or shop bought, and pieces that you may have in your wardrobe that you would not necessarily have picked to wear together with the dress. It's a very, very versatile garment. It's available at the moment in the pinstripe, in the charcoal, in the large wool check and in the small check, and in the month to come we're adding the black teal, as I said. If you are keen to be amongst the first to know when the black teal is introduced, then subscribe to the newsletter. Just visit the website and the newsletter subscription pop-up will automatically come after a couple of seconds. If it doesn't, then scroll down to the bottom of the home page and you'll see in the bottom right corner an opportunity to sign up to the newsletter there. you will only receive one newsletter per month, if that. So I'm not going to bombard you, but then at least you'll be amongst the first to be informed about what's new at the Slow Wardrobe. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.